Chapter 91 10,000 Corpse Dynasty. Liu Suifeng awkwardly touched his nose, sighed, and watched as Wuxianrong's back disappeared. Then, with a show of his sleeves, he also left with the wind. In the original place, only a messy martial arts arena was left behind, which had witnessed a peak youth battle last night. This battle would be recorded in the history of the great Tang cultivation world. And when Kang Qian and the others grew up, this battle would be an important memory for them. The battle at the Fendu Fighting Stadium had shaken the great Tang cultivation world with Kang Qian's fame. In just a few days, the news spread throughout the entire Great Tang Kingdom, and for a while, he became the center of attention in the cultivation world. Kang Qian's consecutive defeats of Hegemonic Warrior and Berserker Warrior had undoubtedly made him another youth supreme in the Great Tang Kingdom, and the news that he hadn't conjugated the Dan was even more shocking to the entire cultivation world. Such a supreme youthful powerhouse hadn't even conjugated the Dan yet. Once he stepped into the conjugation stage, who else in the young generation of the Great Tang cultivation world would be able to contend with him? I'm afraid that the only ones left would be the four masters of the imperial capital. In addition to Kang Qian, Corpse Heaven and Corpse Earth, the two corpse-catching twins, were also famous and known as the Youth Supreme. They ended up alongside Kang Qian and were known as the Three Kings of Fendu. Kang Tian was the Hegemony King, Corpse Heaven and Corpse Earth were the Heavenly Corpse King and Earthly Corpse King respectively. They were all known as the Three Kings of Fendu because they rose from Fendu City. In this way, the youth generation of the Great Tang cultivation realm had become an era where the four masters of the imperial capital, the Three Kings of Fendu, and the seven heroes of the Great Tang, the group of strong young men, reigned supreme. People couldn't help but feel that the Great Tang cultivation realm's heyday was coming. This generation of young cultivators generally surpassed the past, allowing everyone to see that the Great Tang cultivation realm was about to rise to power. Many people were already looking forward to the Heavenly Dao Sect apprentice ceremony. It was conceivable that with the participation of so many young powerhouses, this Heavenly Dao Sect apprentice ceremony, the Great Tang country cultivation realm would surely be able to wash away the shame of the past. It must be known that in the last 100 years, the Great Tang cultivation realm had gradually declined, with very few cultivators being able to worship the Heavenly Dao Sect. And even if they ended up worshipping the Heavenly Dao Sect, they didn't have much of a reputation because their potential wasn't as good as other people's, making it very difficult to watch. And it seemed as if the Great Tang cultivation realm was on a downward spiral. However, just in the last few years, many powerful young cultivators have appeared in the Great Tang. Firstly, the imperial capital 4 heroes were famous. Then the Great Tang 7 heroes were not far behind and were equally famous in the cultivation world. Now, the Three Kings of Fendu wrote another legend and shook the Great Tang. This caused many Great Tang cultivators to become excited as they seemed to see the Great Tang cultivation world rising. Thus, the battle at the Fendu Fighting Stadium was enough to be listed in the Great Tang cultivation history. Haoyu residence, Kang Qian's residence. At this moment, Kang Qian didn't know that he had already shaken the Great Tang cultivation world. He was comfortably soaking in a hot spring, stretching his body and relaxing his mind. 2 days ago, the battle at the Fendu martial arts arena had made him reap rich harvests. Not only had his own cultivation broken through the 8th turn, he had also learnt about the technique of using the star-absorbing technique in conjunction with the heaven-escaping hands, which would be his secret weapon and would be able to completely turn defeat into victory and restrain his enemies at critical moments. After soaking in the hot springs for a while, Kang Qian began to think about that terrifying old man from Fendu Mountain, the mysterious master of the little girl Zhaolinga. This old man was incomparably powerful, and according to Emperor Dan, he might not be stronger than that old man even in his heyday. Kang Qian was undoubtedly very shocked. The Dan Emperor in his heyday was a supreme expert at the peak of harmonization. In the entire Flood-Wasteland continent, not to say invincible, there were few enemies. It was undoubtedly shocking that Mount Fendu was hiding such a peerless powerhouse, and it was also a powerhouse of the corpse-catching sect. Such a peerless powerhouse was enough to sweep across the entire Great Tang cultivation world. Even the Heavenly Tao sect would have to weigh the pros and cons and not dare to mess with it. Kang Tian realized why Emperor Dan had to cower into the reverse heavenly cauldron when he met that old man in the first place. Because in front of that old man, only the miracle of the reverse heavenly cauldron could withstand his probing. Otherwise it was hard to guarantee that Emperor Dan's whereabouts wouldn't be exposed. Facing the yuanying of emerging stage powerhouse, it was hard for Kang Tian to guarantee that that old man wouldn't lay his hands on him. After all, to them at that realm, the yuanying of a harmonization stage powerhouse was definitely a great tonic. With such a supreme powerhouse sitting at Fendu Mountain, I'm afraid that the Great Tang cultivation world will have trouble dealing with the corpse-catching sect this time. Kang Tian thought in his heart. During these 2 days, he had heard quite a few rumors, and it seemed that the Great Tang cultivation realm was preparing to make a move against the corpse-catching sect, which was an order from the Heavenly Tao sect, which would not allow the corpse-catching sect to rise to prominence. HMPH. This is just a test by the Heavenly Tao sect. After all, the Heavenly Tao sect is also clear that a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. The Great Tang cultivation realm can't help the corpse-catching sect at all. They're just using the opportunity to test the waters. A cold snort came from Emperor Dan in his mind. In that case, tomorrow's blood sacrifice ceremony won't have much to look forward to, Kang Tian said thoughtfully. That's not necessarily true. Emperor Dan shook his head, then laughed. There is an order from the Heavenly Tao sect that the Great Tang cultivation sector doesn't dare to disobey. There is bound to be a big battle tomorrow, but it's not a deadly battle. But it's just the right opportunity for you to hone your skills. So you're going to go and take a look tomorrow as well. A battle? Then I'll have to prepare properly. By the way, the corpse-catching sect will definitely be in chaos up and down at that time. I'll just take the opportunity to go in and find out Anti-King and the Grand Elder and their corpses. I mustn't let the corpse-catching sex people refine them into zombies. Kang Tian thought in his heart. He continued to soak for a while. Then he put on his clothes and headed to the Haoyu Residence's restaurant. In these 2 days, the Haoyu Residence tavern was full, and many cultivators were discussing the battle at the Fendu fighting stadium. And those who spoke of Kang Tian amongst them were all in awe. In an inn not far from the Haoyu Residence, Bastard Warrior Wu just woke up from his coma, and he immediately learnt about the battle of Fengdu fighting martial arena from his younger brother Wu Fei. Big brother. That's how it is. Now the cultivation world has praised him to the skies, even comparing him to the 4 masters of the imperial capital. What a villain. Wu Fei said with a face full of resentment. For Kang Tian, he hated him beyond measure. Wu Gang was silent. Kang Tian's strength was beyond his expectations. Even the Berserker Thundercloud was defeated. The other party didn't even perform the masterstroke tackling Heavenly Hands when he fought him. Otherwise he would have been undefeated a long time ago. Arrange the carriage for me. I'm going back to heal my wounds. You also go back to seclusion with me. You don't want to come out until the Heavenly Tao sect's disciple acceptance ceremony begins. After a while, Wu Gang said coldly. Wu Fei didn't dare to say much. He nodded his head repeatedly. In fact, he also had this intention. After all, now Kang Tian's front was too strong. If he wandered in the cultivation world, he didn't know how much anger he would have to suffer. The 2 brothers packed up their things and left Fendu City that day. And in another restaurant house in Fengdu City, the over-injured Lei Yun also woke up from his coma. And he learnt everything through his coma from the green-clothed old man at the side. The 3 kings of Fendu. Lei Yun's eyes flashed with infinite battle intent. Although he was defeated this time, his confidence was not dampened. and he was still full of self-confidence. The green-clothed old man on the side was pleased and said, "Yuna, you were born with a thunder body. There will be 3 heavenly tribulations that will come down during the Jiden stage. Now you have only survived 1. When the remaining 2 have been survived, your strength will definitely surpass the present and may not necessarily be worse than Zhao Wuji and the others." The thunder body was also a special bloodline that was very rare in the cultivation world. Those who possessed the thunder body cultivated thunder system techniques by leaps and bounds, and were definitely 1 in a million geniuses. Nowadays, Thundercloud hadn't shown the true power of the thunder body, otherwise he might not have lost to Kangqion. "I know, next time, I won't lose again." Lei Yun nodded heavily at his words, his gaze filled with invincible conviction and glowing. The green-clothed old man nodded, then asked, "How is it? Wu Gang has already gone back to seclusion, preparing to wash away his disgrace. Do you want to go back now?" His hegemony has been broken. His conviction has been dealt a blow, and he needs to go into seclusion to recover. "I'm only lightly injured. There's nothing serious, so it's not too late to go back after the corpse catching sex blood sacrifice ceremony tomorrow. Moreover, I also want to take a look at the other 2 of the 3 kings of Fendu, Corpse Heaven and Corpse Earth." Lei Yun sneered. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The furor from the battle at the Fendu fighting stadium hadn't calmed down by now, and shocking news was traveling towards the 4 corners of the Great Tang country. Everywhere in the streets and alleys, one could hear cultivators discussing the battle, and the fame of the 3 kings of Fendu immediately spread. Among the 3 kings of Fendu, although Kangqian's current strength was inferior, he ranked first in terms of popularity, thanks to the fact that he hadn't broken through the Jiden stage yet. Kangqian, who has not yet broken through the Jiden stage, is already so powerful. Once he breaks through the Jiden stage, who else can compete with him at the same level? For a time, Kangqian's reputation of being invincible at the same level spread completely. Of course, whether or not Kangqian could really be invincible at the same level would have to be seen in his battle with the god of war, Zhao Wuji, after he broke through the Jiden stage. Regarding the news of Zhao Wuji's appointments to fight Kangqian at the Heavenly Dao Sex Disciple Acceptance Ceremony, the news had long since spread throughout the cultivation world, and everyone was looking forward to it. On the surface of all the deeds, Kangqian had already become a celebrity that no one in the Great Tang cultivation world knew about, and I'm afraid that Kangqian himself wasn't even sure how famous he was now. However, for these false names, Kangqian didn't care much. He focused on his own self-cultivation. In this cultivation world where strength was honored, only a strong strength could do what he wanted to do. As for the title of invincible at the same level, Kangqian didn't care, not to mention the fact that Zhao Wuji still maintains the reputation of invincibility and the strength of his battle body. Even if he breaks through the Jiden stage, he might not be able to defeat Zhao Wuji. And Lei Yun's thunder body wasn't simple either, and would be his strongest opponent in the future. There was also that mysterious crazy man, as well as Corpse Heaven and Corpse Earth, and even the other 3 of the Imperial Capitals 4G. All of these were supreme powerhouses of the young generation, and all of them would be his strongest opponents in the future. The challenges that Kangqian needed to face were far more than imagined, and these were only limited to the Great Tang cultivation realm. Outside the Great Tang cultivation realm, that was the entire vast and infinite flood continent, where there were unknown numbers of strong people. There was his true heaven and earth. His path was still far. All Kangqian wanted to do now was to quickly break through the 9 revolutions, and then advance to the Jiden stage or to participate in the upcoming Heavenly Dao Sex Disciple Acceptance Ceremony. That would be his final battlefield in the Great Tang country. And from there, he would walk towards the Flood Continent, towards the truly great world. Coming out of the Haoyu residence, Kangqian met Luo Wanyong, Liu Suifeng, and Lei Yun. Flower thinking wrong was still dressed in a long white dress, like a fairy descending to the earth. Her absolute beauty was mesmerizing, and the passing cultivators all resided to watch from afar, admiring this beautiful woman who had fallen into the world. She saw Kang Chong come out, revealing a hint of a gentle smile. Under the sunlight, this hint of a smile was incomparably brilliant, like 100 flowers blooming, making people infatuated. Kang Chong couldn't help but look dumbfounded. Cough. Liu Suifeng on the side coughed and playfully said, "Brother Kang Chong, don't just focus on looking at beautiful women and forget about us to manly men. This is not a good habit." Kang Chong's old face instantly reddened. The flower thinking wrong on the side also revealed her shyness, discreetly and strangely glaring at Liu Suifeng. Lei Yun broke the awkward atmosphere. His loud voice shook the ears of the crowd. He looked towards Kang Chong and said, "I thought you would take Wu Gang's place, but now it seems to be that the name of the 7 heroes of the Great Tang Dynasty is no longer good enough for you. The name of the Overlord is now as good as thunder and lightning. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations." His voice was loud and deafening. Liu Suifeng on the side couldn't help but complain, "Boss Lei, your voice is still so loud. Just because of your voice, I don't think it will be long before there is one more Lei King in this great Tang cultivation world."